Hi, and thanks for joining me for this sourcing webinar. We're going to look at one specific job requirement and analyze it. We will analyze the technical vocabulary, we will analyze the role itself, and then dive deeper to how to actually find the specific IT professional. So let's dive right in. Hey guys, hey Mort, hi guys, hi everyone. So as you can see, today we are going to review a position of a QA engineer. How cool is that, right? QA engineer. What position do you guys work on these days? Valentina, Mort, why don't you tell us in chat, write us in chat, what do you guys work on these days? Hi Nikki, hi Denny, hi Sylvia. Feel free to just type what positions are you working on, what keeps you busy these days. Hi Juliana, long time no see, right? And while you are typing all these positions you work on, I'll kick it off with this QA engineer, and I'll just tell you, of course, a little more about the difference between manual and automation testing, right? So we understand what this position actually is all about. But before we do, let me just look at the requirement from the client. A QA engineer responsibilities include testing. So QA stands for quality assurance. I'll show you a few slides in a while, also with a dedicated mind map. So stay tuned. But before I do, I'll just walk you through this job requirement. So we see who exactly are they looking for. So responsible for testing, so quality assurance testing. You will own the development and execution of test plans. Okay, so this is not software development as such, so not feature development, but rather development of tests and test cases for multiple features. Okay, so there are software developers in the team, and these QA engineers usually test what do the developers create. You will promote QA through automation tools and other best practices. You will promote a culture of quality throughout the organization. So QA is all about ensuring the quality of the software, just to make sure that it doesn't break. As an example, imagine now on Zoom, there would be some bugs, right? It would crash every now and then. The chat would not work, right? It would not be really a pleasant experience. So QA engineers make sure it doesn't crash as often. Well, like it crashed last time, but in a different setup. And it's very sporadic, very random. And yeah, thanks for letting us know. Meanwhile, Mark, what keeps you busy? Data-related positions, cool. Juliana, application developer, Java.NET, cool. All in Romania. Yeah, a lot of companies are hiring developers from Romania these days, from what I've noticed. And these guys in Romania keep increasing their salary expectations. So I guess in a year or so, it will not be as interesting financially for companies to outsource to Romania. But let's see how the market evolves. Requirements: must have skills, at least 3 years of solid experience in software quality assurance. So not development, but quality assurance, and coding experience in either of these languages. And now you can see this difference when we are looking for a C# developer or a Java developer, as you, Juliana, just wrote. We are looking for a developer who has deep understanding of the particular language. But when we are looking for a QA engineer, usually, it's not as important which language the person used in the past, because they will just create tests, and the tests could be in JavaScript, it could be in Java or in PHP, so it's not as important. What is important in this case is the knowledge of a particular testing framework, which is Selenium. Damini, yes, I record all the sessions and then publish on YouTube. I have yet to publish the last 2 sessions or so, but that's the plan. And nice to have skills. There are quite a lot of them. Experience in manual testing also. So I'll just clarify the difference between manual and automation testing. So historically, I mean, say 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it was all about manual testing. So even in my previous team where I was the CTO, we had a team of manual testers whose responsibility was to just open up the mobile application and tap here and there and to verify that the software works. And you can imagine how tiring that was, how how slow and inefficient, right? So recently there has been this shift to agile development, which is much more iterative, much faster. Also with DevOps, it's all about continuous integration and continuous development and continuous deployment. So all that put more pressure to test software automatically with some automated frameworks. So in this case, they welcome someone who has experience with manual testing, but they will be using automation tools. So in particular, continuous integration tools such as Jenkins is also required, or sort of nice to have, right? Strong knowledge of QA methodologies, testing types, tools. And there is a difference between the testing in waterfall methodology and agile testing. I have this slide that I can show you in a second. And what else? Knowledge of Cypress and Appium testing tools. So these QA engineers use some tools to help them test software. It could be Cypress, it could be Appium, it could be Selenium, right? Like there are different testing tools. I'll show you a mind map so you can categorize this. And development experience in or with these tools. So in PHP or with MariaDB or Amazon, because this is the technical stack that the company uses. So the tester's job is to test not just the individual functionality, but also the overall system, just to make sure everything works after one system is plugged into another system. So that's why for the QA engineer, it's beneficial if he or she has experience with other tools, databases, Amazon Web Services, cloud, right? So the QA engineer can really test different systems. The qualification questions. The qualification questions, here are they. So do you have at least 3 years of solid experience in software QA? Have you used Selenium WebDriver? So that's a particular tool that the QA engineer would be using. Do you have experience with CI tools? This is more related to the DevOps terminology. So continuous integration, continuous deployment. DevOps is all about frequent delivery. Do you have strong understanding of QA best practices in an agile development? What programming languages do you have strong experience with? And what software QA methodologies do you follow? So I usually like to keep these questions like yes, no, but sometimes it's just good to get information because if, for example, I would just ask, do you have experience with any programming language? It's just too vague, right? Like you can have experience with Visual Basic, but that's not relevant anymore. And, it's just, so what programming languages? Ideally PHP, Java, JavaScript. That's what we would be looking for. Have you used Selenium WebDriver? Yes, no. Do you have experience with CI tools? Yes, no. And if yes, then which ones? So I'll show you this testing QA landscape, so you can see some of these keywords also mentioned, starting with actually testing tools. I mentioned Selenium. So Selenium is a tool for cross-platform testing. What does it mean, cross-platform? Well, typically each programming language, such as Java or JavaScript or C#, they have their own testing framework, because the testing framework is written in the particular language. So, for example, NUnit is written in C#. So developers who write in C# would use NUnit, just because that's the language they speak. It's like, for example, if you speak English, then you will not write notes to your paper book in Spanish, right? Because it doesn't make sense. Like, you speak English, so you write notes in English also, to use some analogy. But there is also some cross-platform tool called Selenium, and developers can use this Selenium framework in different languages also. So that's one of the few exceptions. And as you've seen, in this case, they use Selenium to test their applications. They also have application in PHP, so they would probably the PHP code test with PHP unit or with Selenium. Certainly not with NUnit or XUnit. That doesn't make sense. Okay, some of these roles related to QA include manual tester. As I mentioned, someone who just clicks or taps here and there, but that's not who we are looking for. We are looking for the QA engineer, someone who can automate testing, someone who can write tests that would run automatically. And then some different ways how to call the same person. So test automation engineer, right? It's like QA engineer, test automation engineer, or automation tester. This is just another way to call the same person. Quality assurance engineer is just QA, right? QA stands for quality assurance. Manual, automated, that's clear. Testing types, functional, non-functional, doesn't really matter for now. And the difference between testing and QA is probably important in this case, because they are not looking just for a tester. A tester would be someone who just tests and look for some bugs. Hi, Val. But they are looking for a quality assurance engineer, so someone who will be working on improving the overall quality of the product through the improvement of the development process. So someone who would not just keep testing, but someone who would, and they wrote it here, someone who would promote a culture of quality throughout the organization to make sure that other developers also develop of higher quality code. Someone who would promote these tools, like new tools and best practices. So that also tells us we are not looking for a junior person. A junior QA engineer would be probably just testing, but in this case, they are looking for some mid-level developer who would be also already aware of some of these best practices when it comes to test automation. And then it's just the question, what other tools? So beyond Selenium, one of these programming languages, and experience with QA, quality assurance. So it's not as important what programming language does the person use. It could be JavaScript. In this company, they already use some. They use PHP, they use JavaScript. So the QA engineer would use one of these. But from the past, he or she could have experience with Java also, or I don't know, Golang. So this is the tech stack: PHP, Angular, TypeScript. Yeah, this is just the description of the overall technical stack, not necessarily what the QA engineer will be working with. He doesn't have to set up the Kubernetes cluster. It's just what do they have, but there could be a situation when the QA engineer will need to test something on the cloud. So I'll just check this mind map, not to forget anything. Testing versus QA, manual, automated, and some roles, testing tools I covered. Cool. So there was just one thing I wanted to show you when it comes to DevOps, because all these, there has been this shift from manual to automated testing. So manual testing, it was all about just someone manually going through all these test cases, but with automated testing, the QA engineer or test automation engineer would use automation tools to execute test cases. So it's development, but not development of features, but rather development of test cases that run automatically. Agile testing principles, we can skip for now, but I wanted to show you actually some of these screening questions. Oh, this yet again just shows the testing frameworks. So Selenium cross-platform, and then each programming language has its own JUnit, NUnit, XUnit, PHP unit in PHP. But I want to show you the questions, the screening or interview questions that you can ask just to get sense if someone is really the automation tester or test automation engineer. Oh yeah, PyTest for Python or PyUnit. For example, what testing tools do you use or recommend? So we are looking at, for example, PyTest, as you mentioned, Val, or Selenium, but also the other part of the question is important. Why Selenium? Why have you used Selenium? What browser extensions do you use most? This again helps us to filter those who are just manual testers and those who are test automation engineers, because the test automation engineer would use, for example, Postman. And probably those are most important now when it comes to sourcing and identifying who is a good fit. How would you ensure that you're testing well? This is not really a screening question, but we see these other qualification questions for this particular position. So have you used Selenium WebDriver? Do you have experience with CI tools, QA best practices, what languages, and what QA methodologies? So now the question is, how do we find this professional, right? Someone who probably was a developer and shifted to QA, or someone who was not a developer yet, because a lot of people just enter the IT space as testers and, for example, manual testers, and then they shift to automated testing. So from manual to test automation. So that's one of the career paths. I would not, for example, look for people based on the programming language they use, just because we may get someone who uses PHP as well as someone who uses Java or JavaScript. It doesn't really matter as much. So then the question is, what else? Like, for example, the keyword Selenium is important because those who use Selenium, they really write automation tests because that's what Selenium is used for. And the other keyword is obviously QA engineer, but not just QA engineer, but also these other alternatives. So test automation engineer, automation tester, and quality assurance engineer. Okay, so we can have a few alternatives just because that's what one of these professionals can have on their profiles. Or SDET, yes, correct, great suggestion. So SDET, well, actually typed SDET stands for a software developer in testing. So someone who develops, but not new features, but rather tests. So then the question is, what do we do? How do we get this professional? So let me just type here. And we could even start with SDET, or we could start just with QA, right? We are looking for people with quality assurance specialist titles. Like LinkedIn makes it easier, right? Location doesn't really matter in this case. It's remote. And then, of course, at some point it matters because of the salary and the budget. But for the sake of this exercise, let's just start broad. So quality assurance specialist, like really broad, and we could also actually add quality assurance engineer. Now the question is, what's the difference between a specialist and an engineer? Some people see a difference, some people don't. Some people say an engineer is someone who has a graduate degree, but some people just use it as they want. So in any case, I will just add it here. So we see Tomasz, Faruk. So then what skills do we need? For example, Selenium is one of these really important skills. Selenium WebDriver. We could type both Selenium and Selenium WebDriver. Yevgeny, Vlad. Okay. So why don't we choose some location? Juliana wrote Romania, so why don't we try Romania? So we don't have that many people in our results. And also budget-wise, it could be a good fit. So we would have 875 candidates in Romania. Now, we don't really need someone who is way too senior, just because they would be out of range. So I would decrease the seniority to, I don't know, maybe like 6, 7 years, 6, 7, 8. And someone who has just 1 or 2 years experience would be too junior. So let's say 3 to 7. And you can always go back to the job advert or job description, and you can see here like 4 or 5 roughly would be a good fit. So you can open up a few profiles just to see what do these people write about themselves and what can we understand. Razvan, QA engineer. Not much, but we can at least see that he used Selenium. He probably has a computer science degree. Maybe not. Maybe not. Oh yeah, University of Bucharest. Mechatronics, robotics, automation engineering. So he even studied automation, but it doesn't have to be like quality assurance or test automation. It actually seems like he studied robotics and this kind of other automation, so not like test automation. So let's not get too much fixed on the word automation. It could be, I don't know, Industry 4.0 automation or Internet of Things, like anything, right, in this sense. No, so, and he has experience with React, with Node.js, so also JavaScript, right, which they use, also Selenium they use, and quality assurance. So let's keep looking for someone else, because he's way too junior, right? He has just 1 year of experience, apparently, just some internship. So not a good fit, not a good fit. Even though in the search I had at least 3 years or so. So not a good fit. What about Julian? He's a backend tester, hardworking person. Well then, that's a great fit. Able to multitask, always a plus, right, for a tester. So he can test automatically and manually at the same time. So what else? We can see that he was a test engineer, a backend tester. Well, I have a dog around, so probably you've noticed already by the sound she makes. A functional tester 3 years ago, QA engineer 4 or 5 years ago. So this is much better profile, right? We are looking at someone who has been focusing on QA engineering for some time. Tester, he was a tester before, so someone who has clearly the right level of experience when it comes to QA engineering. Selenium WebDriver, yeah, cool. Experience with Selenium testing, also with PHP. So as I mentioned, in this company, they use PHP. So if he has experience with PHP, that would be a major plus. And agile methodologies, quality assurance, right? Like this is the kind of profile where we see the right keywords, right? And we also need to look at the overall experience. Like, does he have the level of experience we expect, around 3, 4, 5 years? Yes, because he started already. Look, he started already in 2012. So even like more experience than probably is needed for this position. Now, when I'm saying it, probably he's even like way too senior, but like we can approach him anyway and see if he would be willing to accept the job for the budgeted salary. Back office test engineer, so he could be a good fit, right? What do you guys think? Just by looking at it within a few seconds, I think it could be. Let's look at some of these requirements yet again. 3 years of solid experience, yes, he has. Coding experience in Java, not, but he has PHP. Knowledge of Selenium WebDriver, yes. That's what we've seen, so that could be great. He may be SDT already or lead. Ooh, good observation. Let's actually check if he's not a team lead yet. Backend tester, no. He's communicating with QA, product owners, hands-on experience, creating plans, allocating stories, reporting, closing bugs. So no, like now he's not the team lead yet, which is actually good, right? In our particular case. So that's all good. Back office test engineer. Even before, he was he hasn't mentioned anything about leading a team. So all good on this end. The English, of course, we will need to double check. It's in Romania, so like from my experience, developers in Romania have decent English English level, so that's good. But of course, needs to be checked. Especially, Juliana, you are in Romania also, right? So why he's not lead? Maybe he has bad soft skills. Good question, but also not everyone wants to be a team lead because of the additional responsibility, right? So there are people who want to go the path of management, the management path, and others want to specialize in the core skills they have, and they are on the individual contributor path. So he may be on that path, right? Like not everyone has to become a team lead because yeah, you have English second language to study. Cool, cool. So mm, yeah, I wanted just to say that, for example, now when you are approaching someone in Romania, right? Um, you speak your local language in general. Also, when I'm approaching someone in Slovakia or Czech Republic, we speak our local language, and then it can slip through the cracks that we don't check their English skills, right? And it happened a few times when maybe some of you or whoever, right, like submit someone from your local country, and then we hop on a call with the person, and it's like this person cannot really understand me. Like, how are we supposed to communicate? But it's sort of understandable because you speak the local language. I'm just saying that something to be mindful of, at least to ask them if they are comfortable with an interview in English and if they have solid experience. You don't have to speak in English. That could be a little awkward unless you are used to it, but at least verify if the English is there. Okay, so I'm just thinking out aloud. Yes, yes. Well, I mean, if someone is performing the job for 5 or 6 or 7 years, well, then, you know, we don't even have to ask him, if he has understanding of QA best practices, right? Like, we should, but if someone does it for 7 or 8 years, like it's quite likely they would already know how to do that kind of a job, right? So I would probably stick to this one. We can still review a few profiles, but this one looks fairly well. Also Postman, right? So these are some of the common tools when it comes to testing. Um, so this is also what we used 5, 6, 7 years ago. So it's one of these popular tools. He uses also SQL to pull data from database. So yeah, I mean, I would just approach him. But then the question still is, what do we approach him with, right? What would be the message? And this is the most exciting part, right? To figure it out, because it's not that difficult to find people based on predefined criteria, but then how to get their attention, how to cut through the noise, right? So what would you guys suggest? How do we approach it? What do we write him? And while you are thinking, I'll just remind you that this company is building a digital platform for freelancers, so something like Upwork or freelance.com, but where these freelancers can get together and create some virtual companies. So on Upwork, every freelancer works individually, but here they can form a team and work together. Um, so it's all remote, it's flexible, it's a very diverse, dynamic, highly inspiring, innovative environment, the full startup package. So it's a startup, 25 people. That means it's quite dynamic. They are, you know, I know the CTO, by the way, and he's a great guy. I would probably use it as the anchor or as the initial message outreach. But I can use it because I know him personally. You cannot because you don't know him. So let's just stick to something that everyone can use. So in my case, as I mentioned, I would type something like, hey, a friend of mine, a CTO, is looking for QA engineer, and he's a great guy. I was working with him for X years, and I can tell you more if you like, right? So to attract his attention, Valerie writes his name in subject. My name is. You have very impressive profile. So you want to sort of speak to his ego, right? And that's always good, right? It's just we always just need to find the right balance between being overly I don't know, like sleazy, right, versus like not at all, So mm, and then the question is, when can we say, what does it really mean, impressive profile? Like he has a very interesting profile for a QA engineer, 5-7 years, even more actually, because he started in 2014, 2012 in electronic arts, so 9 years of experience. That's really cool. So that's quite impressive, right? You can say. But there are also some other people, like a few weeks ago, I was going through a few profiles of CTOs who were like, oh, like super impressive, like people who managed like hundreds of people, and they were responsible for billions of dollars in budget and profit and loss statements. But that was like super impressive, right? But everything is relative, of course. So I'm just saying we should find some good balance here, because otherwise it may just feel rock stars. Rock stars. Yeah. Do you suggest like to say that he's a rock star, or the team we are recruiting for is a team of rock stars? If you can just clarify, Valerie. So Juliana, what would you write? Or Erika? Or Sylvia? Something in Romanian? No, in English. uh, nice try, nice try. Oh yeah, the CTO candidates were rock stars. Oh yes, 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 Valerie. Also those that you submitted. Oh gosh, like they were just mind blowing. That's so cool. And it was also interesting that they were interested in the opportunity in the Caribbean, because they wanted to relocate. So very, very cool. So what do we write him? We can say, hi, Julian. His name in subject, Valerie, you suggested, so we can say yes. But what? Something like, job opportunity, work remotely. Mm, it's a little boring, so I'm thinking of something else, something like uh, QA testing, um, something that sparkles some curiosity again. We discussed it last week. So position title could be QA engineer, but how can we make him a little more curious about the message? I would not write just looking for a QA engineer, but something something like QA. Like I'll just type, right, QA engineer, Julian, right? If I would just send something like this, I don't know, it feels a little generic. So something more catchy. Or we could just say remote QA engineer, or how about CTO introduction, Julian, QA engineer, right? Like now he would be like, oh my god, like who does he want me to introduce to? Julian, QA engineer. So hi Julian, I noticed you've got an impressive profile when it comes to QA, right? If I would follow your advice, Valerie, I noticed you've been working with working on test automation projects for almost 10 years. That's impressive. That's impressive. And normally I would write something like a friend of mine is a CTO and looking for someone like you or someone who has been using for someone who's been using Selenium WebDriver. He's a great guy, right? Like I find something personal, something to stand out a little. He's a great guy. He's a great guy. Would you like me to introduce you to him? Okay, so something like this, just very casual, not too pushy by any means. But as I mentioned, in this case, let's send him something else because yeah, thanks Valerie. But you know, it's sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's hard, right? It depends on if you know someone, right? Like how to find the balance in case you don't, you know the CTO, like in this case. So in this case, I would write one of our, say, one of my partners or one of our clients, or you can say, I know a company that's looking for a professional or for a QA engineer. Oh, what's wrong? For a QA engineer who's been using Selenium WebDriver, and I noticed you did. I don't know. It's not too bad, but it's not emotional. It's not emotional enough. What more information about the position? Some terms. Yeah. Also, we will add it. So let's try something else. I noticed you've been working on test automation projects for almost 10 years. That's impressive. Have you, or we can even ask question like, for how long have you been using Selenium WebDriver? But we don't really care, right? It's not as important. So how about and I'm just checking chat if you guys haven't written anything. A little bit about the work culture. Yeah. The company or a client. We can say, yeah, we can say, I know a company that's I know a company that expanded their backend and front-end teams in the last few months, and now they want to get their DevOps and automation and testing automation to the next level. They are looking for someone who's been using Selenium WebDriver and can help introduce the best practices and help the team help the team thrive, grow, become professional, help the team set the bar high. Okay, I'm thinking, of someone who has been in this game for some time, for 10 years. He doesn't want to work on some boring project, right? He wants to work on something cool and exciting and introduce the best practices and knowledge that he accumulated. So this is the ego boosting part, right? Like I want him to feel this. Would you like me to introduce you to the CTO or to the engineering team? On test automation project for 10 years, that's impressive. I know a company that expanded their backend and front-end teams in the last few months while building a cool platform for freelancers. And now they want to get their DevOps and testing automation to the next level. They're looking for someone who's been using Selenium WebDriver and can help introduce the best practices and help the team set the bar high. We're going to introduce you to the engineering team. So what do you guys think? Sounds okay. Sounds okay to me. Now when I'm just thinking about it, I know the company, they're looking for someone. Would you like me to introduce you to the engineering team? Then the question is just what will be the hook? CTO introduction. Well, now in the message I don't propose to introduce him to the CTO, so I'll probably change this a little. Sounds convincing. yeah. Thanks, Erika. Thanks, Juliana, Morayo. Well, what hook? Like, what would get his attention really? Look, like this probably something about the company or or something about the best practices, right? So say QA best practices, Julian. QA best practices, and he will look at it and it's like QA best practices, like what, right? Like we want to trigger this, like what do you mean, like what, sounds like ad. Well, it is an ad to some extent. Because we advertise the opportunity or the position. QA best practices, or QA best practices introduction, right? So maybe now QA best practice introduction, like this. Julian Thomas, senior engineer, QA opportunity to set the bar high. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Yeah. I'll also just type this one. QA opportunity, QA project, QA opportunity. like the word opportunity is a little tricky, right? Like some people hate it, some people don't have such strong opinion. Just in general, the word project is on the safer side, I would say, because it's clear. I don't know if we say QA project, probably yes. Now when I'm thinking about it, QA project to set the bar high. Maybe this would be accurate, like QA project to set the bar high. Like we are offering him a job, but it's a freelance job anyway. It's an opportunity. I mean, the word opportunity is good also, Valentina, like nothing wrong about it. It's just personal preference. QA project or QA job, right? QA job to set the bar high? No, probably not. That's a little awkward. But QA project to set the bar high. And now maybe to mix it with what Valerie suggested, to put the name Julian. That's not bad. What do you guys think? QA project to set the bar high, Julian. Hi Julian, I know you've been working on the test automation project. I know a company that expanded their back and front end teams in the last few months while building a cool platform for freelancers, and now they want to get their DevOps and testing automation to the next level. They're looking for someone who's been using Selenium WebDrive and can help introduce the best practices and help the team set the bar high. Would you like me to introduce you? Like, who would respond no to this, right? Ever. And you are just adding the name. True. It's a good point, yeah. That's also a good point, Irena. We can also drop it. QA project to set the bar high, because it's sort of clear when you have the name that you send it to more people. Fair point. So shall I hit the send button? Futuristic virtual platform project. That's also very cool. Futuristic virtual platform project, and futuristic virtual platform project. QA, right? How about that? Could be like this. QA project. Futuristic virtual platform QA project. hilarious. It's a great option. So shall we do some quick voting, guys? What option do you prefer most? Say one is QA project to set the bar high. The second one is the futuristic virtual platform QA project. So one or two. Just type one or two. More a second. Both sound good. But one for me, one, two, one. It's harder than it looked like, right? Now we have 1, 2. Okay, so 1, 1, 1, 1, and twos we have 1, 2, and we have 2 twos. Okay, so we will go with the option number 1. Cool. QA project to set the bar high. Okay. Second sounds like job offer on Mars. Well, there is something to it. Or maybe we could change the word futuristic to something more realistic. But anyway, I'm hitting the send button. Boom. Send. Cool. How cool is that, right? So of course, like this takes some time, and you don't want to spend 20 minutes before sending each message. But once you have some template already, right, for you spend probably 15-20 minutes, but now I open up someone else and I send pretty much the same message, right, to Alexei, and again the same message to Christian. So it takes some time, but eventually more people respond to these messages. So it could be worth. Cool. Was it fun, guys, today? Will be available to search on the Zoho platform. Not this one, or at least not yet. Sometimes clients don't want us to, engage more people. Sometimes they just want us to do some quick search. So we have different engagements. Sometimes it's more about doing some quick search. They pay us hourly or project based, and in that case, it's not suitable. And this is the case. Cool. So thanks, guys, for joining. In any case, even if this is not relevant, Juliana, for you to hop in right away. But the QA, is a typical role. You may have a QA engineer, next week or next month. You can just then copy paste it, right? So thank you guys for joining. Thanks Irena for the feedback. Thanks Valentina, Erika. Thanks Val. I also enjoy these sessions, and I'm glad you find them useful. So thanks Mark. Living inspired. That's great. It's not just about teaching some best practices, but also inspiration. So that's cool, and also some sense of community, right? Like we already know each other, which is very cool. So thanks, Mocht. Mocht, when I see your name, I imagine this guy, Sebastian, in the United States, so or Caribbean. So hopefully, yeah, creativity. Erika definitely helps to make this job more enjoyable at the end of the day, right? So we don't just keep repeating what we do, but we enrich it with some creative insight. Cool. Thanks, guys, and have a wonderful day.